Alright, so here's the deal. I'm making a video so that I can show you some of my history. Pasadena Assembly of God, it is kind of my home church. It's where I grew up in church and where I first heard about the gospel and heard about Jesus Christ. Alright, so pretty much this is the lobby of the church that I grew up in. I'll show you one of my favorite places, which is in here. This is the room that we called the Little Church, and the reason that we called it the Little Church was because of this area right here. Now, I want to show you something that most people, when they come in here, would never notice. See how the molding is like 12 inches tall? Now look directly across the door, and you'll see the molding on the floor is much shorter. The reason for that is because on this side there used to be a platform area that was built across here, and there was it was a step up, and there was a railing, and this was actually the church building, and there used to be a picture of Jesus, like right here behind me where that kind of pole thing is, and it was like Jesus, and he was on the rock and he was praying to heaven, and it was really serious and kind of scary at night. But now I want to take you to another room in the church, probably familiar to almost everybody, and that of course is the sanctuary. Now come with me up to the front. It's hard to walk backwards when you're doing this kind of thing, so I'm just going to go. So this is the front of Pasadena Assembly of God, except that, once again, this is not what the front was like growing up. Instead, I'll try to do this as best I can. You see where the step is here in the middle, right? And first of all, that's a new cross since I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was kind of much bigger and uglier. I like this one a lot better. I don't know if you're allowed to judge crosses in church, but kind of here where this step is was actually another step, and it was just kind of different. Let me try to. There used to be what was called an altar rail, and a lot of churches have these. We don't have one here at the college, of course, but right here in this area would have been a large oak altar rail, which was like a wall. It was like 4.5 feet high, and it was solid oak, just like as solid as a pew or a bench, like that. And it was solid, and it used to run from basically where that dog leg is, all the way across to where that dog leg is, and it had a little like padded thing on the floor, so you could come and kneel at it. And a lot of times on Sundays or on Sunday nights, we would actually be invited to come to the altar and pray. Now, at Severn River Church, we do it a little bit different. Instead of coming kind of to the front where there's a large wooden altar, we have the I raised my hand table and or sign. And at the end of our messages, when we're challenged to make changes in our life to follow Jesus, we ask you to come to the I raised my hand table so that we can pray with you there. But people were asked to come to this altar, and were really given the chance to meet and pray with people at this altar. Now let me tell you some of the behind the scenes stuff that would happen at the altar. Okay? Some people prayed at the altar. Some people would just turn around in their bench and pray at their bench. And I don't think that God was not as happy with those people as he was with these people. I think that God is interested mainly in that we come to the altar of our heart and let him speak to us. It's the altar that provides us a place to find faith, but not an altar made of oak or an altar that's a bench or whatever. See, I learned more about the altar, not at the altar, but actually behind the altar. On Sunday nights, often after a kind of a fiery message from the pastor, he would invite people to come to the altar, and we would spend a long time at the altar praying. I remember many nights, my hero, Ben Rainey Sr., would come to this altar, but instead of coming to the altar rail, he would go around behind the altar. And let me see if I can just point to you. He would come to the altar like this, and I can see that, like, I'm not all the way in, but let me turn my hat around. He would lay on the platform, and so he would lay like this, and then he would cry like this. Why? Why would my dad cry? I think it's because faith is formed at the altar. See, I think in my dad's life, he found faith at the altar, and every time he came to the altar, he found more faith. I think we find faith at the altar. I think every time we come back, we find more. I think God gives us faith. He gives us a measure of faith. And I think we tend to crack it and kind of crumble it and break it. But I think every time we respond to God and come back to the altar, our faith is fixed.